Okay, it looks like we're ready to go here. As many of you are aware, in the last planning commission meeting that we had two distinguished members of our planning commission um, give us notification that they were going to no longer be working with us, and we'd like to start this evening with a special presentation. So tonight, before the meeting, we'd like to recognize and thank Patricia Korzak and Rafael Begueras for their time serving as part of the City of Moreno Valley Planning Commission. I don't actually see Patricia. But anyway, Patricia served on the Planning Commission for 7 years, starting in 2015. She notes that one of her very first meeting was the original review of the World Logistics Center project. During her year, she served as the Planning Commission. She served as vice chairperson and more recently, the chairperson. Raphael served on the Planning Commission for 3 years, starting in 2019. He's been an advocate for the public hearing process, encouraging applicants and residents alike to be involved in their government. And I personally, when I first started, I remember Raphael was every single time he was in that audience, and he had wonderful comments and positive comments to say about the city, and you can tell that he was just really, really involved. So therefore, the Planning Commission, city staff, and the public would like to thank you for your dedication to the city and willingness to serve. And we wish you well in the future endeavors. Okay, what we got here? Call to order. So anyway, with that being said,
Um, we can have them come up and we can present them with the plaque.
absolutely, Mr. Begueras. Is Patricia here?
Please, sir, 3 minutes.
Oh.
3 minutes. Am I on? Oh, okay, great.
Well, let's see here. In recognition and appreciation for your 3 years in dedication service from 2019 to 2022. As a planning commission, your service and commitment contributed greatly to the success, growth, and development of the city of Moreno Valley. Wow, this is a beautiful, beautiful plaque. So, Raphael, absolutely would like to
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
very much.
Nice. That's nice.
Any words?
I have a few words. One of the hardest positions to do is to leave. I came here on a vision from the World Logistics Center when they did a presentation across the street from my house. I went over to Louise's daughter, Mary, and I saw a presentation about helping others find jobs, 20,000. And I knew that I can do something about that by helping others find jobs, by supporting development. Without development, there will be no one working somewhere. So many of them come to our city and hope to be approved. And they have done wonders in our city because many of the residents work near their homes without having to travel in these hard times that we're living in today. So please remember the residents of the city of Moreno Valley and those that are looking for work, even if they're part-time jobs. Part-time jobs are very important today to subsidize the full-time job that doesn't make ends meet any longer because of things are going up. So when people talk about part-time jobs in the city of Moreno Valley are not paying well, that's not true. They do pay well and they subsidize things. That's why I fought for. I'm an advocate for jobs development. I'll miss it, but I'll never forget it. The plaque is great, gives me recognition for the hard work that people have helped me with, especially Tom Gerald, who's here today. People have encouraged me, the staff, the mayor, the spirit of Victoria Baca and Carla, those who I live with forever, who given me the opportunity to be here today by appointing me. They saw my vision for others, not for me. But I step down now because I have to take care of me. It's been a long time that I've been doing this. So I have to step down and take care of my wife and me. So I hope when someone else comes here, just remember you're doing that for yourself, but you're doing it for the city of Moreno Valley and the residents. God bless each and one of you. Thank you so much.
That was one of the few times we got to see Raphael speak without the 3-minute timer. Seven years of dedication to service from 2015 to 2022 as a chairperson, vice chairperson, planning commissioner. Your service and commitment contributed greatly to the success, growth, and development of the city of Moreno Valley. We'd like to thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, I'm not going to be Raphael and give a speech. I am just going to say it's been 7 years and I've gotten to know a lot of you and fellow commissioners. It's been an honor to serve the community and I wish it well, and I will continue to volunteer and do things within the city as time permits. But thank you all for supporting me. I appreciate it, and good luck in all the upcoming projects. Goodbye.
Oh, wow, that's nice. Thank you. Okay, well, good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission. The City of Moreno Valley, I now call this meeting to order on April 14th at approximately, 7:09 p.m. Maybe we have a roll call.
Commissioner Matthew Chen,
Here.
Commissioner Omar Kobian,
Here.
Commissioner Jeff Sims,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Alvin Dugenais.
Here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sims will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand, please face the flag, place your hand over your heart. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. We're going to move to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion and a second, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
Okay,
I second.
okay, a motion by Commissioner Sims and a second by Commissioner
Jen.
Chen. May we start with a vote call, please?
Commissioner Matthew Chen,
Yes.
Commissioner Omar Kobian,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Sims,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Alvin Dugenais.
Yes. The motion carries. Well, as we know, again, we had two people step down. So we have to do a little housekeeping here. So at this time, we'll move to select a new chairperson and vice chairperson. I will hand it over to planning official Sean Kelleher, who will now administer the nominations and election for chairperson.
Thank you, Vice Chairperson Dejanay. We will start by taking nominations for a chairperson. If you'd wish to make a nomination, please do so now.
I'd like to make a nomination of current Vice Chair, Chairperson Dejanay to step right into the role that he's been groomed for and ready, able, and willing to do, I think.
Thank you.
I second that.
Okay, so at this time, we have a motion made by Commissioner Sims and seconded by Commissioner Cobian to appoint Commissioner Dejanay as the Planning Commission Chair for the next year. Clerk, would you mind initiating the roll call?
Commissioner Matthew Chen, Commissioner Omar Kobian,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Sims,
Yes.
and Vice Person Alvin Dejanay. I think that means you're going to be chair.
Congratulations or
Thank you.
condolences.
So at this time, I will turn over the meeting to our new chairperson, Chairperson Alvin Dejanay.
How did that happen? Okay. Well, now we'll take nominations for vice chair via roll call. If we wish to make a nomination, please do so.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Jeff Sims as vice chair.
I would respectfully decline. I've been there, done that before. So,
Then I will make a nomination to Matthew Chen.
I'll second that
Take a move.
motion.
Okay. Okay. So we have a nomination for Matthew Chen. Could you please raise your hand for a, well, we got a motion and a second. We made a motion and a second to appoint Mr. Chen as Planning Commissioner Vice Chen for next year. Is that how, or do we have to vote?
Oh, we have to vote.
Yeah, I think we have to vote that he's ready to
We're on
go.
the draw today.
Just to be clear, the second was Commissioner Sims, correct? Perfect. Okay, by roll call vote, Commissioner Commissioner Omar Kobian,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Sims,
Yes.
and Chairperson Alvin Dejanay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow.
I think you need to move over.
That one better. That one better, yeah.
Do we switch?
I said that was fast.
Yeah.
Do we switch?
For this evening, we'll just keep it as the same. We'll switch everybody on the 28th.
No, you didn't want to sit there. Okay. I thought maybe doves or something. Nothing.
I'll get some confetti.
All right, next we'll move to the public comments procedure of our meeting. During the public comment period for each item, as well as during the public comment period for items not on the agenda, each member of the public who has signed up to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. Any person wishing to address the commission on any matter, either under public comment section of the agenda or schedule items for the public hearing, must fill out a request to speak form available at the door. The completed form must be submitted to the secretary prior to the agenda item being called by the chairperson. And speaking to the commissioners, members of the public may be limited to 3 minutes per person, except for the applicant for entitlements. The commission may establish an overall time limit for comments on any particular agenda item. Members of the public must direct their questions to the chairperson of the commission and not to other members of the commission, the applicant, staff, or the audience. Public, next item, public comments for items not on the agenda. The next item is public not on the agenda. Are there any speakers? We have a speaker.
Yes, we have one speaker, Tom Gerald.
Tom Gerald speaking on behalf of myself and Chair Dejanay and Vice Chair Chen. Congratulations on your new appointments, members of the staff and the public, both here in the chambers and watching at home. I came here for primary reason, say goodbye to two good friends, stepped down. It was night while they resigned after the last meeting, but I thought it was really neat. They got those plaques, and it was a good recognition for two people that have served very well. I know both of them. And so Patricia, I worked with at the Children's Museum and Riverside years ago, and it was a joyous place. I mean, she brought a lot of happiness to a lot of kids, and of course, she went on to other city commissions, including the Planning Commission. So she served the city very well. And Raphael, I don't think you could ask for a more prepared person. Took his job so seriously. So I just want to acknowledge your courtesy of recognizing their service, and thank the city for doing that, and to acknowledge your service. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Not at this time, sir.
The next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. The next item is the approval of the consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be a routine, non-controversial, and may enact by one motion unless a member of the commission requests that an item be removed for separate action. Items withdrawn for report or discussion will be heard to the public hearing items. Questions or comments from the public on the consent calendar matter are limited to 3 minutes per individual and must pertain to the subject under consideration. Do we have any public comments?
Not at this time, sir.
What do we need here?
I would suggest we make a motion to approve
Yeah, pursue that.
items 1 through 6 on the consent calendar as presented.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar, items 1 through 6?
Yes, I would recommend that we, the Planning Commission, approve items 1 through 6 on the, as presented on the
agenda. I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Sims and a second by Commissioner Cobian. Can we have a vote?
We're going to go ahead and try the electronic vote.
Ooh. The motion carries. That worked. All right, the next item on the agenda is the non-public hearing items. At this time, we don't have any items. Look at this. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is public hearing items. So we have item number 1, that the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for a 3,589 square foot retail cannabis dispensary, Sunnymead Retail, located at 24175 Sunnymead Boulevard. Can we have a staff report?
Thank you. The presentation this evening will be made by contract planner Luis Lopez.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, the item before you is a conditional use permit, number PEN 21-0005, to allow the construction of a 3,589 square foot retail cannabis business in the village-specific plan area. The subject site is located on the south side of Sunnymead Boulevard, as shown here on the aerial photo, approximately 800 feet to the east of Heacock Street. The property is 16,500 square feet. There are commercial uses along this sector of Sunnymead Boulevard with predominantly office and restaurant uses. There is a multifamily apartment building on the south side of this property that also has access over an easement on the east side of the property. This is a site plan and landscape exhibit that was submitted as part of the application. Just wanted to note there was a prior approved conditional use permit on this property. However, the prior building was destroyed in a fire, and this project basically represents a reconstruction of that configuration of the building where the parking is essentially in the front. The building is towards the rear of the property. It has a 0 setback on the west side and total of 19 off-street parking spaces. The municipal code does require 2 secured parking spaces near the inventory and security office area. So those are provided kind of in that southwest portion of the parking lot. The building itself is laid out in 3 segments. Looking at it from the west, you have a 2-story security office and inventory control area. The central part of the dispensary is the sales area. And then the eastern third of the building is the lobby and business office portion of it. State law does require that dispensaries have a secured lobby area where patrons are ID'd so that only persons 21 and over of age can enter. With respect to the architectural features of the property proposed here, they are consistent with the village-specific plan, which seeks to have articulation of facades. So there's a rhythm to the facades here. Every 30 feet, there's a change in the roof line and the facade treatments. So they've combined different architectural themes, as you can see here. This is another artist rendering perspective. The applicant is in the audience, and they do have a material sample board if the commission cares to look at the materials in more detail. But that essentially concludes staff's presentation at this time. We are recommending that you approve the attached resolution 2022-24, which includes a finding that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA environmental review under a Class 32 exemption, and that you approve conditional use permit Pen 21-005, subject to the findings and conditions in the exhibit. That concludes my presentation, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Are there any commissioner questions for staff? Commissioner Sim?
I just, thank you for the presentation. So this project was, there was a project with just a different, it was going to be a remodel of the existing building. And now we're putting in because of the existing building burnt down, that was going to be remodeled. We're back in. So it's just because I'm not a planning professional per se that does all this, knows all the codes and stuff. Why couldn't the CUP that was previously approved go over with an amendment for the new building, or the change in building use?
The prior entitlement basically runs with the exhibits that were approved previously. So because this is a change in the site plan, it does require a new entitlement basically.
Okay.
And just to give you more information on that, the parking configuration is changing significantly such that all of the offsite improvements will be completely redone. New curb gutter, sidewalk, and driveway aprons. So it really represents an improvement to the neighborhood.
Yeah, it looks, yeah, the elevations are awesome looking at. And so, so you have a chart on page 2 of the staff report. It shows the, per our city code, the various allowances for the different types of cannabis activities. So if I read this right, we're only allowed 25 dispensaries per our code. So will the prior in this, so are we saying that the 25 25 that's already been approved includes the one that we're talking about tonight, and it's still going to stay 25, or are we talking about 26 in the dispensaries?
So the 25 will stay the same. What will end up happening with your action this evening, you'll actually effectively void the previous conditional use permit.
Okay.
But the conditional use permit and the license are two separate things.
Mhm.
The license was actually a provisional license issued by the finance department. So that license number that license actually stays the same because it's still to the same business entity. It's just the CUP is changing. So the number you see is still 25.
Okay, and the CUP will stay, I guess we rescind one and we're approving a new one in its place.
In approving this one, the previous one is rescinded
That
automatically.
is- So I don't know if any of my other commissioner meets up here care, but what would be really cool if this exhibit had another column that said, of all the stuff we've approved, the ones that are actually active, it built. Is that, or do we care? I don't know.
Actually,
I don't know if that's something we care about,
I
but
think we actually asked for that at one point. in time.
It's something that I don't know that it would be appropriate for a staff report for a cannabis use, but as an informational item to bring back to another meeting and provide as part of just a document that's provided to the commission, I don't see any problem in doing that. We actually keep very good records of where all of the applications are. We would just, so we could definitely formulate that into some form of a table for you to just review for your own personal information.
well, agencies seem to have a life form of, they go through a process and then I don't frequent those types of businesses, so I don't know if we have 1 or 20 of them. I think we have 2. I think 2 or 3 are for sure open, but anyhow.
Manny, do
just-
you happen to know the number offhand that are open?
At this time, we have a total of 9 that are open.
They're actually operating then.
That's correct.
Are they all dispensaries?
They're a combination of dispensaries and manufacturing and distribution.
That's all I had. Thank you.
I would actually also, and I know that we've talked about Sunnymead Boulevard and the 2400 block at one point in time with that information, kind of a scatter plot of where they are, just informational wise. Any other questions of staff?
So right now, the existing building is, I'm assuming it's boarded up. I've drove by it. It's done already,
The
removed.
existing building has been raised. It's no longer there.
Any other commissioner questions? Well, at this time, would the applicant like to speak?
Evening, councilman or commissioners, I apologize. I'm here on behalf of Merino Valley Investments LLC. I'm joined up here tonight by Patrick Martin as well. We're happy to answer any and all questions you have tonight. We also brought some materials, some boards, some handouts. You look over the materials that we plan to use on this project. We even have some handouts for each commissioner if you'd like, which actually provides you with the sample materials being utilized and some renderings. If you'd like me to present those to you now.
Certainly.
I think that's it for right now. We're happy to answer any questions you may have of us. We have been in front of the commission before, recognize some of the faces, and we're happy to be back. And we thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you, sir. For just a second there, when you said samples, I didn't hear materials. So
Fair enough. Fair enough.
This is a whole nother. Well, thank you, sir.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. All right. Are there any commissioner questions for the applicant? No?
So I have a question and ask, and please stop me if this is not feasible. So I see we have, how many parking spots do we have in the 19? Correct. Okay. So, when we go to Lowe's or somewhere else, you see veteran spots, next to the handicap, a little closer, right? Sunnymead, especially this location here, sometimes isn't the safest, right? So, it's something that I think might go over well here in Moreno Valley, being pioneers. Would you guys be willing to designate some of these upfront spots, maybe one or two, 12 or 13 for your female patrons, closer to the door, safer access, something, especially with, into the night, might give them more peace of mind to be able to step out of the door right to their car.
Sure, that makes very good sense. And we actually have exterior security. So usually part of their job is to patrol and assist people, patients coming into the store. So one of the things that we can add to their list, which is actually a great suggestion, is to prioritize parking and kind of leave a space or two open that is near the front entrance. So that way for people, if females or anyone that feels they need to take advantage of that opportunity, they would be able to use that.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel that, something I might ask of a lot of applicants, to think about the safety there. Just Moreno Valley can be pioneers in as far as this initiative goes. So I think it would be really awesome to have designated female patron spots at your business, and as the city grows, continue to have those around the city. I think it would be a great opportunity for our citizens.
Yeah, thank you.
And for the record, I would suggest that just be a voluntary condition, because we cannot impose a gender-based parking condition on the project.
Understood.
I have another quick question. This being ground up construction, a lot of developers have came before us, and I know you guys are owners, but at the same time, you guys are developers. So you guys are going to hire your contractor. He's going to hire his subcontractors. They come before us and they've made commitments to, possibly local hire, skilled and trained, apprenticeship. I think the city, at least with me, what I've seen is being as progressive as we are. We're starting to look at the future of residents of Moreno Valley, meaning the youth. Certain contractors and developers have made commitments to make sure that they want to be part of that development. So have you guys ever considered, I don't know what your vetting process for contractors, but that being, very important at least. And I know we can't, but we could always make suggestions about maybe a potential developer agreement on what kind of contractors you feel like you're going to hire.
Well, I can speak to that. Actually, one of our central business tenets is community first. Our success is defined by our ability to perform in the community, and we like to build those relationships by a commitment to 100% local hire. In every community we've been in previously, we've launched job fairs to access and tap into the community's resources. We try and source all of our materials through the community we're in, and we know that resonates. It comes back to you tenfold, right? So if you hire contractors from the community, that just goes downstream, and you hire employees from the community, it builds those relationships. We have a full-time, and most retail storefronts don't have this, we have a full-time community liaison that actually works with the neighbors and the surrounding community members to make sure that we, are proactive in working with those surrounding businesses and residences, so we can forecast problems, areas of concern. And all that's built around hiring people from the community and doing business in the community. So our foundation started with networking and being in groups and understanding the symbiotic relationship of working within that localized community. One of the things we also do is brand building. So one of the ideas we were trying to create is, Merino first, like a Moreno Valley cannabis brands, things that have an appellation. So we're not only going to try and source our construction materials here, we're going to try and build brands that celebrate Moreno Valley, so we can kind of be a leader in that regard. So we'll work with, different companies to build and white label packaging and materials that'll have that Moreno Valley appellation. And that's going to be the central tenet of our entire business philosophy.
Yeah. So pretty much every store we have approximately 30 retail stores right now. All of them are at least 90% local hire. And then also, as part of the actual retail store, we designate a certain portion of that retail floor space for local cannabis cultivation, as well as manufacturing. So all of the Moreno Valley product that's being manufactured and produced within the city gets its own shelf space within the city, so that the customers, as they come in, can also support local. And then in regards to the contractor, if you want to refer us a local contractor, we're more than happy to look over their bid and then hopefully go with them as well.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner questions for the applicant? Doesn't look like. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank
Appreciate your
you.
time. At this time, we will now open public testimony. The clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on agenda items. Do we have any public comments?
No, sir, not at this time.
Yeah.
Tom Jarrell, and this time I'm speaking on behalf of the Sundance Center, which would be right down the street from us on the same side. I come from a unique position. I actually was one of the speakers against the ordinance back when they approved the original marijuana. I come from a restaurant and bar business, our family, and so I have dealt with intoxicants since I was a young man, and seeing my dad be a bartender and own his own place and so on and so forth. That's how our family earned our living. So now we have a new substance that's available to the public. It's been authorized by the state. I am not a user, probably not planning to, although some people have recommended it for my pain, but in any event. But I do want to say that since they have brought a number of these online, mainly the city is taking a real leadership role and bringing some quality things. Another, your former commissioner, Brigueras, he's not a user and he's not philosophically aligned, but he became very impressed with the way that the scrutiny that the city puts these through. And and the ones that I have seen, we've got one, I think it's called Good Life, right across the street. Or in the case of this building, I won't say I'm glad it burned down, but let's just say the city fumbled forward on that, because we're going to get a much better building. That was a pretty ramshackle building, probably not particularly safe. So you're going to get a brand new building up to current codes, and it'll be architecturally better and better for the employees and the public. So these dispensaries, and I've seen no problems with it. Like I say, I've got one just catty corner to us, and in fact, I'm of the opinion, I think they require them to close at 10 o'clock. I know it's not your decision tonight, but I have no problem if they let them go till midnight or 1 o'clock, because one thing they do, they have a good security. And as soon as the businesses start closing down, and I'm on the boulevard many hours, okay, all times of day, and strange things happen. And, it's not coming from the marijuana shops. It's coming from goofy people that do stupid things and, cause problems. So we got a lot of homeless and a lot of indigent and some out and out criminals. I was assaulted a number of years ago by somebody probably trying to break in. So anyhow, but the main thing, the security, I'll call it the beautification. They're complying by the law. I mean, where we as a city got to do our work is cracking down on these knuckleheads that are operating illegally and gaining the system. So these guys are spending a lot of money. That building is not going to be cheap. And I hope they can find some local contractors. So as a soon-to-be neighbor, I support the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
No, sir, not at this time.
At this time, would the applicant like to provide any additional information? Okay, thank you. Well, at this time, I guess we're moving into our deliberation phase. Oh, wait, yep, that's right. Oh, we have to close the public comments. I don't see that on here. So at this time, we'll close the public comments. And we'll move into our deliberations. Any comments from the commissioners?
Well, I guess I'll start. Like Mr. Jarrow, I don't know if I'm ever happy or sad with these things, but it is what it is, and our city has the policy to allow them, and I haven't gone my one, but the buildings that they're in look better than they did before they were there. So, and the security is good, and we've gone through these many times as far as the additional security and the lighting and just the in and out of the building and so forth, and the odor control, so forth. So, and I do think at some point it would be nice to see kind of a scatter map of where all the approvals have been along between Heacock and Paris Boulevard along Sunnymead, that in that general vicinity. It just to see what the saturation of approvals has been on that. But at the end of the day, this one's been approved already, and we're just switching out the building to accommodate, a mishap that might be a good fortune. So for the city. So.
I second that sentiment. The Sunnymead Boulevard needs a little beautification. Looking at these rendering, I like the palettes. I like the different colors. I am really big on what kind of contractors we use. In the past, in my line of work, we see a lot of contractors that cheat the system. They use cash pay. They commit tax fraud under the table. It's so rampant. It's right under our nose, unfortunately, and the city pays for it, and we all pay for that kind of behavior. So, other than that, I like the project. I like it.
So, haven't been on long, but those who do know me know that safety is one of my biggest concerns. So I'm always asking about that. So I really like the new proposal, the location. I think it sits better towards the back of the property with that parking up front. We're going to get some beautification there. We're going to, have a brand new building. And I think that's good. Everyone we talk to is always asking about Sunnymead Boulevard and making it look nicer. And I think this is going to just add to that. As long as their marketing plan doesn't include a sign spinner in the middle of the road, I'm perfectly fine with what they're proposing.
I concur. Sunnymead Boulevard, one of our oldest streets, and it's starting to see a lot of facelift. So the project looks great, and I, for one, I'm for the project. Well, I guess we've all spoken. Huh? I don't think so. I don't know. Can he ask another question of the applicant or?
Yeah, the applicant. Okay. I'm looking at this rendering. I see it looks like a trash enclosure, different colors, your address. Where is your signage, and what is your signage going to look like? And I know there's certain conditions of how big a sign is allowed, but your signage, there is no sign on this. So
I'll have our architect answer that.
and how illuminated it's going to be, because that is a big deal. I think we've made it very clear as a planning commission, we don't want big signs. I think if your business model is to be looked at by the street and be the biggest sign, it's the wrong place. I think it needs to be classy. It needs to go along. So that's missing here. I think that's
purposely missing. That was part of the.
I know it was. But why?
Purpose for the planning's decision. They basically wanted to have no signage on this because there would be a separate contract anyway, or a separate permit to provide that signage for review.
Okay. And what is the name of the store, by the way? I'm just curious.
Our store locations are called Mr. Nice Guy.
Mr. Nice Guy. Is it going to have a big happy face in the front?
It is not.
I hope not. Okay.
If our logo's on any of the paperwork or not.
Had it on there originally, and they said take it off.
Okay. I'm sure Sean will do his due diligence and make sure it's not a tacky sign on this
Yeah,
building.
no, it basically just says nice guy in a blue and white colorway.
Okay.
Or color scheme.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't want a big neon flashing, yeah. Now see, that one has a leaf there. My understanding, I guess this would be.
The leaf would not be permitted as part of that logo ultimately for the sign here in Moreno Valley.
Okay, my understanding is.
It would strictly be the words, Mr. Nice Guy or Nice Guy. I think that it's kind of in a bubble type font, more circular rounded in nature. They've got they've got one other site here in town that they're going to be branding that in that same manner that you've previously approved.
Okay.
And the staff that I oversee, they hold them to the rules.
And I believe that should be the actual same thing for the spinners. They shouldn't have the signage and that sort of thing with leaves and yeah.
I am not gonna delve into the spinners conversation. If our city attorney would like to, he's more than welcome to.
Okay.
It's tax season. I don't want him out there with a big suit on.
If you have an hour, I can explain it.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess is that it for our deliberations then? Okay. So do we have a motion and a second?
I can make a motion to make a recommendation that recommend that the Planning Commission approve resolution number 2022-24.
I second that.
Okay. And we can vote. The motion carries. Okay. Was there a staff wrap-up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal may do so within 10 days of this action. If an appeal is filed, it must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director stating the specific reasons for the appeal along with the appeal filing fee or along with appeal filing fee. If any appeal is received, it will be agendized for a public hearing before the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 2, the applicant is requesting approval of the following entitlements: a revised tentative track map 37725 to provide a gated community with the private internal streets, a variance for wall height along the south property line, and 3, a plot plan for community recreation, including a pool in the area zone residential 5 district. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The presentation this evening will be made by Senior Planner Julia Dakota.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The item before you, as you mentioned, is a revised tentative track map 37725, a variance Pen 21-0300, and a plot plan Pen 22-0006. The item was before the Planning Commission in September of 2020 for a tentative track map for 66 lots. The applicant at the time submitted the application as a regular track map, R5 residential development, met all the standards of the city's municipal code, and was approved. The applicant today is coming back for a modification to that, or a revised tentative track map to gate the community using private streets. And in addition to that, they've added a community center and a pool area for the residents of that. The site is located on the southwest corner of Cremeria and Paris Boulevard. It's approximately 20 acres. With the new development, there'll be approximately 63 lots or so. The variance for the southern property line, variance right here. The southern property line, we talked about that with the previous map, and the grade is quite a bit different from the proposed tract to the residential properties to the south. So along with the consideration of the residents down south and the new development, the Planning Commission at the time requested, or it was a condition of approval, that the applicant come back for a variance for the wall height. Normally, the wall height on the property line is 6 feet is the maximum, and the maximum for a retaining wall is 3 feet. So this will be quite a bit higher than that. It'll be 4 feet retaining wall, 4 foot freestanding, and there'll be 2 feet on top of that of a view fencing. So it'll provide the new property owners a 6 foot wall on their backyard, but then also provide some relief for the property down south. The clubhouse within the new development is in the northeast corner of the site, and it takes up approximately 2 of the lots that were originally approved. So they've reduced the number of lots, and they've added this community center with a pool area, excuse me, and a recreation area for the residents. There'll also be a few parking spaces out front so the residents can move over to that area. So with your approval this evening, there's a clerical revision that we'll be making to the resolutions to update the project owner applicant's name. It was incorrectly written on here, so we'll be updating that prior to signature. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the following actions. Find and determine that the tentative tract map has been evaluated from the California Environmental Quality Act and is as an addendum to the original environmental that was approved with the original map in 2020. And that there's no other additional CEQA required since the changes to the original project are minor and the proposed project is consistent with the original findings and approved project. Approve the revised tentative tract map, Pen 21-0206 and Pen 21-0300 for the variance, and the plot plan, Pen 22-0006. At this time, the applicant is also here if you'd like to ask any questions of the applicant, and I'm here to answer any questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, are there any commissioner questions for staff?
You know what? Now that we don't have, I didn't print out the the plot plan or the layout. Did you have that up there or
The map.
Yeah, and so on the street section, so this is a private street. So what are the street widths, and is there at least a sidewalk on one side of the street?
So for that, I would defer to our Public Works Director to respond.
Hi, this is Clement Jimenez, Principal Engineer with Land Development Division. There is sidewalk on at least one side of the street on the private streets, and the private streets measure anywhere from 20 feet center line to curb, so it'd be 40 feet curb to curb. And then there are some streets that are a little bit wider that measure 64 feet curb to curb.
Or the on the lots, I can't. This is the problem about getting to be 60. It's hard to see anymore, even with your peepers. But the lots that are on, I can't tell what the
Toronto
would be
Lane?
probably the most westerly street.
Toronto.
Lots 1
Toronto.
through 8, I think. So those aren't going to be gated, right? Those are just fronting on whatever street that is.
That's
Right, on
correct.
Toronto Lane to Public
Okay.
Street.
And the dashed lines that are on the lot, is that more or less the footprint of the houses, or are those just
Those are the setback lines.
Those are the setback lines. What's the size product of house that's, what's the size product that's being proposed, or we don't know that yet?
The applicant is still working through that with city staff. That ultimately will be a design review done at a staff level to make sure it's consistent with our standards.
Are these going to be attached or, zero lot line, or are these single with setbacks? On each
These
one?
will be, the lots are designed to be traditional single-family home lots.
Is it the street that is down here where the pardon me, the detention basins, are they, is that a normally open, or is that a crash gate for fire?
It's a crash gate for fire.
And has there been any opposition or concerns expressed by the property owners that will have a 10-foot wall on their side, looking at a 10-foot wall?
No, it was actually the applicant or the property owner requested that at the time. It only affects the southeast properties, probably about the 4 lots going west from Paris Boulevard.
Closest to Paris Boulevard.
Right.
Okay.
It will taper down to 6 feet as it moves.
So it's only one property owner that will have that, and they've requested the height.
Currently, it's one property owner.
And there will be an HOA that's going to be, this will be HOA maintained.
Yes.
Is this going to be private water and sewer, or is it going to be single lots or metered individually?
I don't know that. Normally would have to have water and sewer from the EMWD.
Right. I would assume
We are working currently on a, when it comes to private streets, it can be either or. We are actually working closely with Eastern Municipal Water District now to actually provide public water and sewer within private streets, and coming up with a design with them so that we can serve properties in that way.
And is the project being conditioned with the CCRs or something that there's, I mean, it would appear there can't be any off-street, there can't be any on-street parking because it would block everybody's driveway. So
ultimately,
it seems like everything would have to be off-street parking. Is that correct?
If Public Works wouldn't mind answering that in relation to parking?
Sure. The streets measure 40 feet curb to curb, so that accommodates parking on both sides of the street.
How wide are the lots?
Sorry, what was that?
How wide are the lots?
The lots. They're traditional, let me look just to make sure. 70.
Most of them
minimum or
I
70.
can't read it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is the lots. If there's,
Yeah, they're a minimum of 70 is the required in R5.
Good lots.
They're all traditional lots from the
Okay.
R5 zone.
thank you.
I don't have much of a question, but more of an observation. There's a large amount of lots that are 10,000 square feet, 8,100. Is there an average size lot here? Is that your guys' intention? I mean, so these lots are going to be this size, exactly how they're shown on this plan?
That's correct.
I personally think it's nice to see bigger lots with some space in between them. Okay.
Any other commissioner questions for staff? If there are no other commissioner questions for staff, would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening. Congratulations, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Brian Ingersoll with Adkin Engineers, 6879 Airport Drive. I am the applicant and I do represent the client, FPG Sun Moreno Valley 66. They're here as well. And again, we've worked pretty closely with staff to make sure we have a good product. We do. We stand behind the product. Few comments just to clarify, the lots are 70 by 110. That's the minimum lot size that we have. So they are fairly large. And again, we have reduced the amount of lots from 66 to 64. So we have added space, plus a community center and pool area. So trying to add some beautification to that area. As far as the water and the sewer, it will be public. That's the drive right now. Everybody will have their own water meter, their sewer laterals with a clean out at the right of way, just like standard lots are. If you have any other questions, I'm here to answer them. And again, the clients in the audience as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant from commissioners? All right. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Well, moving right along. At this time, we'll now open public testimony. The clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on the agenda item. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Tom Gerald.
Tom Gerald again, speaking on behalf of myself, Commissioner Desjardins, Vice Chair Jen, members of the commission, and the public watching in the chamber or at home. I hadn't really planned to speak on a lot, but I need to get in shape. We had the COVID for a long time, so didn't get my FaceTime. But in any event, sometimes I hear certain things about the projects. I want to commend the project. I mean, to me, it looks like an upgrade. They were approved. They came back. I like the idea of the gated community, the clubhouse. That's going to add value. So he didn't indicate the size of their houses, but I think in order to make this thing pencil out, because back in the ancient times, I built a few homes, and they're going to have to put a pretty schmaltzy house in there, particularly given the lot size and stuff. So I think it's going to be a real nice project. I'm going to bring some good residents to our community here. One concern I do have, though, and I have no problem with the taller wall for the retaining wall. But if you drive around Moreno Valley and look, and sometimes you're looking at a project only a few years old, you will see I think it's salt, the alkaline comes through the wall when you got that differential. It seeps through the soil, goes through the wall. And at the very least, it's unsightly because you get that white, crusty stuff, and it can be taken off, but it's a constant problem. And I was just looking at it. I'm thinking maybe you could require some type of water barrier on the fill side to keep that from coming through, because not only is it unsightly, but I got salt isn't good. There's steel on those walls. I got the reinforced steel with solid grout. And I don't think that salt going through, contact, it's going to affect the steel and stuff, and it won't be an immediate problem, but over time, it's not going to do any good, as well as it's a visual problem. And as far as what I would call a massing, because of an extra tall wall, you might require some pattern blocking, maybe a big pile ester here and there. There might be a structural one. I don't think it's a great deal of linear footage, so I don't think the cost is going to be insurmountable. But so other than that, I like everything about the project, and I commend the developer, and I hope it can go forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Are there any other public comments?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. Well, would the applicant like to address any?
Address the wall. We will, there'll be a water barrier and seal, so that to prevent that salt coming through. It is going to be HOA maintained, so it will be maintained. There'll be constant maintenance on it through the HOA maintenance mechanism. And just to reiterate, we are complying with a condition that was already put on the project. So the variance is just complying with an existing condition that's there. So
well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, no other public testimony at this time. I'd like to close public testimony and we can move into deliberations.
Is there a way I can ask a question to staff?
We did that the last time, I believe. Yeah. Yeah.
So what are the setbacks, the front and backyard setbacks on this?
Front setbacks on R5 are 15,
For the front?
sorry, 20 for the front, 15 for the rear.
Okay, and then if with all the new rules and regulations for ADUs and this and that and the other thing, what are the requirements on those on the separation on the ADU to if for example ADU was built on this property, would it have to maintain would the ADU have to maintain a 15-yard setback?
It would depend on the square footage of the ADU. An ADU can go up to 4 feet to the rear property line unless it's, and we have some new standards, so.
It would take me a brief moment. It's somewhere between 800 and 1,000 square feet that the ADU can be to where it can come within 4 feet of the side and rear property lines. And that's a state law. That is, it is implemented by it is in our code. It's because the state told us to.
Yeah, I understood. Okay, that's all I have.
If there aren't any other questions for staff, then we can continue into deliberations.
I'll start us off.
Okay.
Looking at the area, I've driven down Paris. I know Cremera. I know this area. When I look at the site plan, I mean, when I actually look at a satellite view, that lot's been, I mean, it's just been a dirt lot for so long. There's so much development around it. I think this housing tract will really complement Paris Boulevard in that area, considering that, on Iris and Paris, we've just approved a great development on that corner as well. I think the next lot's going to be the one behind it, the big open space, but I like this project. I like the big properties. A private community, that's great. They're going to have to pay for that they decide they want to pay for the HOA for it. That's great, man. They'll maintain it. They're going to take care of their landscaping. I like it.
Any other comment for deliberation?
So just wanted to clarify, I wasn't here during the initial approval, but I have read through everything. So I don't see projects very often take away units, and add for the community. So I commend the developers for doing that, thinking about the community, bringing a better community feel is going to take pride and ensure that those residents are maintaining and doing their part. So appreciate adding that feature to your project.
Commissioner Sam.
I have no comment. It seems like a good project, good infill project.
Same. I feel the same. We see projects come through here, and it seems like they try to squeeze every single inch in the putting in units, less parking, more units, to maximize the amount of money they can make, and then you end up with parking problems and that sort of thing. I commend the applicant for taking away some of the unit spaces. Wow, that's amazing. Well, if that's the end of our deliberations, do we have a motion and a second for this project? Yeah, it's
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, right.
I make a motion to approve the revised tentative track map PEN 21-0206. I also made that one. I also make a motion to approve variance PEN 21-0300. Do I have to make one more?
You'll also need to make a motion to approve. You actually need to make a motion to approve the the 3 resolutions before you this evening.
I also make a motion to approve plot plan PEN 22-006. That three?
Subject to the resolutions before the commission.
Subject to
the resolution of the commission.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All right. We have a first from Commissioner Cobian and a second by Commissioner Chen. We'll take a vote here. Let's just leave. And the motion carries. Congratulations. The next item on the agenda is other commissioner business, and I believe at this time we have no items. Next item is staff comments. Do we have any staff comments?
So I have noted to provide to the commission over between now and the next meeting some tables documenting the status of the various cannabis businesses that we have here in town, locations, approval status, and such. So I will, I'll work with my staff to get something like that emailed to you as well. Also, thank you for the iPads. We'll get them updated for you for Microsoft 365, and we will get them back to you. So that's all I have. Steve, anything for you, sir?
Yeah, regarding cannabis businesses, and just for the record, Moreno Valley has very strict provisions that apply to cannabis facilities. And so we not only require a conditional use permit, but we also require a regulatory permit that's issued through the finance department. And for that permit, they have to submit, if they're renting the property, they have to submit landowner's approval. They have to submit a business plan, a neighborhood compatibility plan, a safety plan, and a security plan. And in addition to the CUP and the regulatory permit, all these businesses have to get a state license from the Department of Cannabis Control. And so sometimes what you don't see as conditions of approval in the permits that we issue, there are conditions that are imposed by the state. So for instance, the state conducts background checks on the applicant. They prohibit alcohol use. They have to disclose a financial interest in the entity by anyone who's invested in the business. They are required to display their state license on the business. Their hours of operation are limited to between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m., which means we can't extend their hours beyond 10 p.m. They have to have limited access areas identified. Anyone who works, whether they're employees, volunteers, or independent contractors, have to be at least 21 years of age. They have to have an alarm system. They have to wear identification badges. They have to have commercial grade, non-residential door locks on all points of entry. They have to have a video surveillance system and security personnel. So those are the kind of conditions that you don't see in any of our permits because the state requires them. And they're also required to get business licenses, building permits, a certificate of occupancy, and they also pay a tax, which requires them to register with a tax certificate with the city. So they're pretty highly regulated. And on the issue of accessory dwelling units, any accessory dwelling unit, and a lot of people know these as granny flats or grandparent flats. If they're up to 15 feet high, the setbacks are 5 feet from the rear property line, 5 feet from the interior property line, and 10 feet from the street side. That's it.
Can I ask a question on that? I just, maybe not a question, is has the city already adopted in its municipal code all the rules, ordinances, establishes all the different classifications and all that and requirements for ADUs?
Yes, we have.
Yes.
I don't is that on the website?
We are, it is, but it's currently still in the resolution format. If you'd like me to forward it to you, I'd be more
I'll
than
wait till
happy
it's,
to. We're still waiting for it to be updated on the actual municipal code online portion of it. So that we're working with the city clerk to get updated.
Will there be a layman's cheat sheet that says if it's this then that, kind of a chart type thing that, or is
We have something of that nature. It does not go into all of the nuances of ADUs and junior ADUs and many of the other things that Senate Bill 9 gave us that we are mandated to implement.
I feel your pain. I deal with it in my work. So it's
All right, the next item on the agenda is planner commissioner comments. Do we have any commissioner comments at this time?
I want to just say I see trucks. The trucks have seemed to be parked on the eastbound 60. Now we have it's Camp 60 and it's Truck Stop 60 between Paris and Nason. It seems to be quite the wide area right there, and there's usually 4 or 5 trucks sitting there doing whatever they're doing. Some of them act like they have their hood up, waiting for assistance maybe, but that seems to be a spot for people to hang out now as far as a truck stop.
If I may, Commissioner, just for clarification, we speaking along the freeway main line, or are we talking about Sunnymead Boulevard?
It's on the freeway. It's not a city problem. It's a highway patrol problem.
Understood, but I appreciate the clarification. Staff regularly corresponds with Caltrans on the issue in terms of encampments and litter and so forth. So I'll bring this particular item to their attention as well.
Well, what I was talking about is the trucks there's usually 2 to 4 trucks usually parked right there because it has a wide shoulder area, dirt area there. They actually the encampments have been on Camp 60 somebody has been on it lately, so it's good. I commend whoever's making the phone calls and keeping the. I think that's one of those. It's how you turn rocks into sand. It's constant pressure applied relentlessly on that. Otherwise, it's going to get a root and it's going to stay.
Understood and appreciate the acknowledgement. Staff sends every week a friendly notice to our friends at Caltrans and with photos, making it perfectly clear the problem and the location. So appreciate that.
I'd like to make one quick comment. On Tuesday morning, there was an accident off the new Spectrum. There was an accident at the new Myrtle Beach Bridge. And unfortunately, the lady driving killed one of the workers. And yeah, that project is shut down for right now. It was not a car, it was a labor from La Yuna, the guys that come. So I just wanted to do a quick moment of silence once we're done. And then because unfortunately that's one less person that got to come home to their family. So that's unfortunate.
Okay. Any other commissioner comments? Okay, well, I'd like to say one thing and thank you. And it is a thank you to our staff for addressing our questions and giving us emails and all our little things that we do and ask for, scatter plots and information. So I'd just like to say thank you for the information and just, kind of appeasing us when we ask those questions. Well, at this time, the Planning Commission meeting is adjourned at 8:19 p.m. to our next regular meeting on April 28th, 2022. Thank you. Well, with that adjournment, I guess we'll have a small, brief moment of silence. I've always wanted to do that. Brief moment of silence, please.